Yeah, and welcome. Today we're going to talk about guitars. I'm Brett Papa, and we're going to talk about the difference between guitars. But first, right off the bat, I take song requests, and I got tons of stuff. So always check the links down below. There's lots of free soloing stuff. There's a song request link, also drum tracks, all sorts of stuff down there. So always check the description box below. But I get this question a lot. What guitar should I buy? And that is a relative question. And I always ask people, well, what do you like? What kind of bands do you like? Because sometimes it's not only a guitar, but it's a guitar and an amp combination that really gets that sound of a particular band, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one amp and leave the settings pretty much the same. I'm going to take this Friedman Dirty Shirley, and then I'm going to run a Telecaster, a Les Paul, and a Strat through it. Now my Strat isn't a true Strat, right? It's got a humbucker in the bridge, but you'll get the idea. And also keep in mind, if you can afford multiple guitars, sometimes it's cool to get complete opposites like a Strat and a Les Paul, or some sort of P90 guitar and something else, right? My favorite recording combo, for instance, is a Telecaster and a Les Paul. Another huge band you can hear do that all the time is Green Day, right? They got these massive guitars. One's a Telecaster through a cleaner amp, one's a Les Paul through a distorted amp. So it's combinations of guitars and amps too, which, is awesome. So what I'm going to do here is I got my Telecaster. Right, it's kind of dirty, right? Oh, it's very dirty. Going through the dirty Shirley with a dirty... Now, what's cool about Telecaster is, for me, it straddles that in between Strat and a Les Paul. So check it out. Sick, right? Back off the gain. What's cool is a Telecaster, you can get total Strat vibe, right? But you can also totally get that kind of Stones. Extra gain through it. So they can be plenty, total rock and roll. So again, my, almost, I'm not 100% when I say this, but I'm about 90%. If I could only have one guitar. For me personally, a Tele might actually be the guitar because, again, like I said before, for me it's that perfect in between a Strat and a Les Paul. So let's check out a Strat and then we'll go to the Les Paul. Okay, so another huge piece of the puzzle is the pickups too. So I forgot to say the Telecaster and the Strat both have Lawler pickups. And I'm a fan of more low output pickups. I've found that through the years, you know, and I'm a huge Van Halen nut and old school classic rock and all that kind of stuff. And a lot of those pickups back in the day were a lot less output, whereas guitars of today have more. I'm a fan of just being able to hit a chord and hear all of the strings ringing. So that's something you can also check out too if you already have a guitar of your own. Humbucker, you know, go around like the 8K range or something like that, you know, 6 to 7 in the single coils, and sometimes that alone is the ticket, right? The Lawler is an amazing company, so that's somebody to check out. So yeah, that's a straight through. Now with a Strat, you have more options than pickups. You have that kind of, that sort of a vibe. So when you're it still is easy to make a mistake on either guitar or any of the guitars, right? So it's really cool. The Strat in particular really works great working the volume knob. What if I kick on a little distortion? they're just different flavors, right? Like I said, the Telecaster is kind of more in between, has a little bit more grit, especially when it's just a single coil in the bridge. A lot of times Strats can be a little bit trebly on the bridge side, whereas a Telecaster has a little bit more of an edge to it. And sometimes that's why I prefer it for recording. It's just a little bit something extra. All right, so let's check out a Les Paul. All right, so Les Pauls have humbuckers, which are better with the noise to ratio oftentimes than Strats or single coiled guitars in general. Now what's cool about the humbuckers is you get some really cool in between sounds, right? In this middle position, you basically have 3 different choices you can make. This pickup, the 2 together, and then this one in the back. Now, you know, more modern Les Pauls have split coils and all these other options that you can do. But, you know, just the classic Les Paul. I mean, Led Zeppelin, all those killer bands of the day. Just think of all the people you see with, you know, big Gibsons and Marshalls. It is an iconic sound, just like the Strat in a Marshall or Strat in a Fender amp are. So, they're very big, thick sounding guitars. You get the neck. And in between, what's cool is you can find different sweet spots of rolling the the bridge position, or you can roll this one down more, this one up. Right, you can do them all up. Les Pauls do the drop D thing just freaking awesome. So we'll gain it up here a little bit and see what we got going on here. Zach, wow, it could be that so good. There it is. It must be those active pickups he's got. But that's kind of an example, right? They're all going through a dirty amp or whatever. But again, keep in mind, a lot of what you associate with a Telecaster, let's say, is, especially if they're iconic albums like the Stones or something, it's like a Telecaster through like a Tweed Deluxe or a Tweed Twin or these old killer amps, and it's the combinations, right, that are really awesome. So, don't just think that you're going to get a Tele and you're automatically going to get that sound. Keep in mind it's the combinations of the amps. So if you wanted the best of all possible worlds, right, I would get, and you could afford it, get some sort of Fender amp, like a Deluxe or something like that, and then get some sort of a Marshall type amp, or, if you're like, a Vox fan, which is a whole another ball of wax. Voxes are great. They have a very pronounced mid-range to them, so you got to be careful. But you can't go wrong with an old Fender Deluxe and some sort of a Marshall amp, right? And either one of those is going to sound amazing with a Les Paul or a Strat or a Tele and a Les Paul, right? So if you could have 2 amps and 2 guitars, you really could cover most of what you're looking for. And then with the, so many pedals available today, there really isn't much you could not do with those 2 amps, like a Deluxe and a Marshall of some kind. Now, keep in mind too, or if you can afford a boutique amp, those are great too, because a lot of the boutique amps and this one and my Divided By, you can get really great sounds low. Where back in the day, you really have to crank up some of those old school Marshalls or some of those Deluxes, and if you got an apartment or something like that, good luck, right? So that's all things to consider, right? But if you want to play professionally and want to get a band and do that sort of a thing, the Deluxe or Marshall or like the Friedman or the Divided By, something like that, oftentimes some of the amps are good channel switching amps, right? But try to get something with a master volume too that's good, because depending on where you're playing, 9 times out of 10, you're starting off small. You're not starting out in an arena. So get something that sounds good low. But if you have a Les Paul and a Strat, or a Les Paul and a Tele, you can't go wrong sound-wise for guitar. You can cover all the bases you would ever need. So that's kind of my lowdown. Like I said, I play my Strat live. And that's great because it has the humbucker and the single coils, which is a great format of a Strat, is 2 single coils and a humbucker, because you can cover almost all the bases with that. And then when I record, I use a Telecaster and a Les Paul 9 times out of 10 if a friend, like my friend Ray, lets me borrow it. If not, I use my Strat and my Tele. But it's good to have 2 different guitars, because you want that, it fills in that sonic space. Sorry. And then there's also, P90 guitars. If I had if I could have anything I would want, I would have a Strat, a Tele, a Les Paul, a 335, and some sort of guitar with P90s. And then you literally, you could get any tone you could imagine. With, amps being great pedal platforms, so many good pedal companies out there now, you could do that to get by on the actual amp sounds 9 times out of 10. So there you have it. I don't know, I think this is like a historic model of one of the Les Pauls, so I'm not positive on the pickups in it, but I think they are a lower output pickup, because it was modeled off some of the older guitars too. So try that too. Lower output, I swear to you, is an amazing route to take. All right, thanks for watching.
All right, and thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and click the bell button to be notified when the latest videos are released. Check the main channel page for other playlists like the popular Guitarists You Should Know, where I feature today's hottest touring and session guitar players. Support the cause by visiting brettpapa.com, where I take you from learning other people's songs and licks to creating your own. Catch you next time.